Going on. Hey, welcome in, everybody. It's Papa Gibbs, Admiral Gibbs here. We're here to talk and do some wild shit. Guess what, guys? We have sound coming in from all sorts of places, but that's okay. We're good. We got it going. Welcome in. I swear, guys, I say this every time. It's not Admiral Gibbs stream without some sort of technical difficulty to start us off. But welcome in. We have Mr. HOFFNAGLE here. I hope I didn't butcher that name. I probably did. We're going to be interviewing him. He is running for Texas House seat, District 100, and you're running as a Republican, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
And he is fighting for conservatism against the Democrats and the diabolical stronghold that is Dallas, where they're sitting here. So we're going to sit here, we're going to talk about, and not only are we trying to keep Texas red, we're trying to turn it more red. And I know that I'm looking real bushy as a motherfucker, my hair's growing in on the sides, but don't worry, Lord, I'm going to be looking good tomorrow for all these things. We got the bomber coming. So let's get down into this without further ado. Mr. HOFFNAGLE, tell us about yourself. How are you getting into politics? What is your story? How did you decide to run? Where are you from? All that good jazz.
So I grew up in Pennsylvania, but I've been in Dallas since 2013. Been here for a while, so I consider myself a Texan at this point.
Yeah, there's an expression about that. You know the expression?
What?
You might not have been born a Texan, like somebody like Papa Gibbs who was graced by the gods themselves, but you got here as quick as you could.
That's right. Staying here now. And anyways, I'm a dad. I coach youth sports. I work in IT and have my own business doing maintenance and repair kind of work and stuff like that. And so I've been fighting in Dallas family court since 2019. And I initially had 50-50 with my kid's mom, and things worked pretty well. And as soon as we went into the final court hearing, the judge just slapped all that to the side, said, we don't care. And they reduced me down to 2 hours a week on Thursdays and every other weekend, because that's what standard custody possession in Texas was at the time. Mm-hmm. And so after talking to some attorneys and things like that, found out that basically was like what was going to happen no matter what. They always pick one parent, and one parent gets what's left over. And so I've been fighting that battle for a couple of years. And at some point I just realized like it's going to be easier to go try and fight and change the law, the legislation to make 50-50 a more viable option for people in contested cases than it is to pay $150,000 in attorney fees. And that's what really got my momentum going, is just the desire to have, reasonable and equitable time with my children that right now the way the state law is set up just absolutely denies. And it's really bad in Dallas, especially because here, like 90% of the time, the mother wins custody. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with mothers having majority custody. I think mothers are great people. But I just can't see how 90% of the time that the mother is always the better parent. It shouldn't, that seems a little extreme. And so now dads typically get Thursday overnights if you live in the same city, and then you get first, third, and fifth weekends of the month. But you're still only getting really 1 day a week when you don't have the weekends. And I just don't feel like that's enough time to really be a true parent to your kids. And I think dads deserve more time and more equitability in the court system with their kids. So
you're looking at trying to do like some legislation to like push. That's what your goal is, push maybe your legislation to change the family law here, kind of to start things out.
Yeah, so my first bill that I would push in would be a 50-50 shared custody as a default standard, with the requirement that the parents are both fit, willing, and able. So fit as in there's no history of child abuse, neglect, things of that nature. Willing is they're going to show up and they have a history of being involved in a child's life, and then able, they stand in the court and tell you that they want to and that they'll be there. And I think we need to start with that standard for everybody. And then if people stop showing up or don't, pick their kids up for their reasonable time, or, some kind of other issue comes up, or there's a prior issue, then you can litigate that with the court to reduce it back down to what is, standard custody right now.
Well, yeah, that's I mean, it's kind of crazy though that you're sitting here, you saying that it was going to cost you $150K and all those things, and like I know that AI and some of the programs have made running campaigns easier, but traditionally, and I mean even with all this, it's pretty expensive to run a campaign. And you're saying it's cheaper to run like a viable campaign than it is almost a fight in the court system. Like, would you say that's a correct assessment? Like what you're saying?
That's absolutely what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm going to run 3 or 4 campaigns on way less than that.
That's
So I mean,
outrageous.
I'm grassroots budgeting. I haven't spent. I'm not spending. I'm not a Democrat, so I'm not getting a ton of Soros money out here to go fund my
No
campaign.
Soros money, huh?
No, we're doing small time donations. We're just buying some yard signs and putting those up. And really, most of my campaign is just going out to local areas and talking to people as much as I can. I'm not running a ton of advertising and doing things like that at this time. So we've invested less than $1,000 total spending in the campaign right now.
Nice.
And so it is what it is. We're going to keep it small. I'm not here to, run a $50,000 campaign. And I don't think that's what politics should be about. I think it should just be about, the local community getting out and talking to each other and deciding what kind of issues we want to, are important to our community and what we want to vote for that way, and less about organized commercials and things.
Let me ask this. I'm not super familiar with your district. I know Dallas is generally pretty blue. Are you in a red or a blue district?
So my district is plus 84 Democrat. We haven't had a Republican run in the whole time that I've lived in this district, which is over almost 10 years.
Yeah, so even if you lose, you're still like pushing the envelope here, kind of thing. So like there's a you got to start somewhere, right?
Exactly. So we have a contingent now of Republicans that are running in South Dallas, which all of South Dallas for the last decade has been pretty much unchallenged to the Democratic Party. So we have several candidates running for House districts down here in South Dallas now that are putting up a lot of really good ideas and putting out really smart campaigns. And
well, that's really interesting. So my chat is obviously asking if you're MAGA or whatever, but I want to reiterate, chat, that in Texas especially, I vote blue on some like local elections depending on like who they are. I vote red because it's more about who's running. In a lot of these districts, you'll don't even have a Republican option if you're in like South Texas or in Dallas, or vice versa. You might not even have a Democratic option. So it's not traditionally MAGA. How would you define your like overall national politics? Like, what do you generally kind of like, what's a general overview? Like, maybe we'll go into the specifics later, but like, what are some like values you're trying to espouse upon the nation?
So, I think Christian morals are the best ethical system that we have out there. And whether you are a Christian or not, I think the standards that the Bible sets are good ones for our society to function off of. So generally, I fall in line with Christian ethics on almost everything. And I'm very conservative monetarily. I don't like debt. I don't think our country should be taking on debt. And I think that our budgets need to be aligned from top to bottom, all the way down to the school districts, with actual cash flows coming in and not lines of credit. So I'd run a very conservatively fiscal, responsibly, government in that terms. And the traditional family is I think it's a very good, important structure that we need to bring back. The middle class was built upon a traditional family household, and you've seen since the traditional family has moved away, the middle class has fallen apart with it. And so trending back towards more traditional family settings and stronger households is very important to build the middle class back up.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about a couple of policies. You see, we talked a little bit before. You seem pretty standard. Like, we talk about. We'll do the one, the least fun one first. We'll do the LGBTQ one. You said that basically, I think we talked before. You don't want any like biological men in women's sports. You don't want any transitioning under 18. That's basically the gist. And then you don't care overall what happens to them. You just want them to be normal people, right? That's kind of. Yeah, is that correct? Pretty summarized. Yeah, sure. That's the least fun one. So I just wanted to get past that one. I know we're gonna get asked. I have a lot of log cabin Republicans or whatever. And they're always coming for us. But in Texas we're kind of got a little bit. We're not libertarian, but we're very individual liberty, and we're like, whatever you do in your own home, your business kind of. Let me ask another one here. All right. This is the biggest question of my audience here. I'm a big rancher guy. We care a lot. What is your opinion on Dan Patrick, and why is he the fucking worst for Texas ranchers and farmers, and why does he need to go? I've never considered voting blue in a Democratic lieutenant governor race, but I'm considering voting, I don't know, like Stalin, if it gets rid of fucking Patrick, this not native Texan. I know you're not native. This guy seems to hate native Texans. What is your opinion on Dan Patrick?
Don't
answer wrong. Don't answer wrong.
I know you're gonna put me on the spot here. Man, I think that when you've been in power for so long, that power just naturally corrupts people. And I think it's important that we put term limits in for all of our representatives, no more than 3 terms from top to bottom. And, that would be governor, attorney generals, lieutenant governors, all of these positions, representatives, senators, mayors, all the way down. Once you get in there, at some point, you're just going to get bought out by lobbyists and big corporations and all the
side note, he's been bought out by tobacco and alcohol with $700K this year alone. But that's neither here nor there.
Yes. That absolutely seems to be the case, and I think that's why they banned hemp again and marijuana, because it is negatively impacting alcohol sales.
Oh yeah, that's 2 separate generations. Yeah, the hemp industry was thriving here, over $1 billion on hemp alone, not even counting the smoke shops, which are another several, close to $1 billion industry statewide. I just can't figure out, Abbott, which is a native-born Texan, by the way, born in Wichita Falls. A lot of people hate Abbott, but at least he's a Texan. He vetoed this bill, and Abbott and Patrick still pushed it through. I've seen Paxton bitching a lot about this, because he's saying, it's going to overwhelm the court system and, with the felony charges for little stuff. And he's saying it's not good because it's going to give Talrico a push. Do you think that's a fair assessment of what's happened here with Abbott, with Patrick? Do you think it's going to hurt the Republicans overall? Because this really seems like the only 80-20 issue that Republicans are iffy on sometimes.
Yeah, I definitely think that this bill is going to hurt us in the midterms here in Texas, specifically across generally across a lot of elections across the state. I think it's a very bad idea. I support the legalization of marijuana bills. I don't personally partake, but I support people's right to choose. I don't see how somebody smoking at night in their home is worse than them doing cigarettes or drinking alcohol or anything else that we allow legally. I think we need strict age caps on 21 with it. Things like that, making sure it's only sold in proper places with legal licenses and that tracking. But I think that what we really need to focus on with that industry is we need to make sure that those products that are being made are made here in Texas and not coming from China.
That's right.
That was what my understanding of what Dan Patrick's argument was, is that a lot of the products that were coming in were coming from China, and that he was concerned about them being laced with fentanyl and other things like that. Whether it's true or not, I have absolutely no idea.
If he was really concerned, he probably wouldn't have shut down the fucking farm bill that shut down hemp here for Texas farmers. But liar's gonna lie, kind of shit. So fuck him.
I understand what you're saying.
So right now you're giving us all the right answers. What would you? What's your opinion? I've proposed similar things. I don't necessarily like taxes, but I don't mind the fact that tobacco and liquor has a vice tax. Would you be open to some sort of vice tax on marijuana that funds, I don't know, education? Or
absolutely.
Something else?
Yeah, I think we need a sin tax on a lot more things to raise sales tax and use that to lower property taxes. One of our big goals.
Would you be? If you bring up property taxes, would you be? I know Texas has been trying to pass no property tax. Would you push no property tax?
Oh yeah. So our group here in South Dallas that are all running for representatives, Will Campbell for 109 has introduced a legislation that he's drafted, which would completely eliminate all property taxes and replace it with a flat sales tax across the board on all the industries. You can go to his website and check it out. It's pretty in depth. But yeah, I think if we could even not go all the way to tax all sales, and we could raise taxes on like a sin tax is what it's commonly referred to as, but taxing OnlyFans heavily, because there's a lot. I don't know if you saw, but Texas spent like $250 million last year on OnlyFans was the report I saw. So if we put a 20% tax on that, that's going to bring in a lot of money. And, Jeff Bezos was in an interview a couple months ago I saw, and he was talking about how federally even the income tax from the bottom 80% only supplies like 3% of the tax base, and that the mass majority of the taxes come from the top 20%, and that's because they have all the goods moving around. And so
the top 8% does 25% of taxes nationwide.
Yeah, so it's crazy. So to eliminate property taxes on everybody's home residence would be very simple, with small sales tax increases on products like marijuana and OnlyFans and things like that. I think we should do.
You keep bringing up OnlyFans as something we should tax. So why does this seem like, I'm just going to play devil's advocate for a second. OnlyFans seems to be one of these businesses, kind of like Etsy, where, women can do it on the side. It doesn't take a lot of money to like grab a cell phone and finger pop your asshole and be able to sell that to people. So why would you want to like make it harder for women trying to make money on the side here in Texas? What is your advocacy? Obviously, I'm assuming it's some sort of from the Christian framework, but
yeah,
sure.
I'm not trying to remove women's opportunities to work. That's not my goal.
Sure.
And I actually have some things that I would do to make it easier for stay-at-home moms to earn income, such as so right now that we created the voucher system last year, right? And currently, if you homeschool a child,
oh yeah, okay, sorry, yeah, the voucher system. Why don't you explain what that is to my audience? I'm not sure all going to be aware.
So basically, in Texas now, there's a voucher. There's a fund that was made, and it's separate from the actual taxes and money that goes to the ISDs. So it is not taking money away from public schools, which a lot of people have a misconception about, and I myself had a misconception when I first heard about the voucher system, but I've since learning about it more, have found out that there is a separate pool of funds that was created in the legislature, and that is what's used to subsidize the vouchers. And so like they had an overwhelming application for vouchers this year, and what vouchers do is they subsidize education for children to go to other schools other than their local public school district, and it's also available somewhat to homeschool kids. The average voucher was about $10,000 per student right now, and so I think 200,000 kids were granted vouchers this year in Texas, if I believe right. I don't quote me on the exact number.
We're not going to hold you to the fire because you got the number slightly wrong. Don't worry.
It was something like that. And but homeschool students are only eligible to get about $2,000, and they're not. So if we made homeschool students eligible for the full $10,000, and you as a stay-at-home parent were homeschooling your child with the use of AI and many of the other free online applications for schooling that are available, which honestly, from what I've seen, their curriculums can be far more intensive than what public school offers. Even in Gifted and Talented, a lot of the public school programs are very, I would call them, they leave your child wanting and desiring for more. They don't even cover like the basic stuff that I covered in elementary school when I was a child, such as cursive writing. There's no fine arts. There's no music. Like there's very limited music programs. Band starting in like third grade doesn't seem to be a big option in many schools. Things like this.
Let me just push back real quick just for funsies. Like I agree, they haven't taught all these important things. Like I got to be honest. I'm a business professional, right? And I think I can count on one hand how often I use cursive, right? Like, I don't give a shit about. I don't care about that. However, I do think it's interesting that they don't teach things like I don't know, how to do your taxes, how to do accounting, how to invest. Like they don't teach things like, the other day I was talking to somebody, and they don't teach a lot of the math they used to. They do the Common Core. They don't talk about the history as much as they used to. They do I don't know, other stuff. They focus on different areas of history. What are some like other changes you would like to make with education?
Let me see here. Yeah. So my big push on my campaign right now is I want to institute trade programs back into all high schools, and I have a way to do this without costing
like process tech money. Or like process tech programs, or
just let me take the floor for a second,
sure,
if you would.
Yeah.
Let me explain it. So what I would do is I would legislate a bill to force work study credits on all high schools across the state. So every public school would have to create and accept a work study program as part of their curriculum that any student can opt into. And what the requirements would basically be for that is if you work 10 or more hours a week in any licensed trade or in the state that has a certification or a license, and you would automatically receive your credits towards your diploma that for half of the day for your junior and senior year that would take. And what this does is 10 hours a week over the course of the 2 years gets you your 1,000 hours that would qualify you for a plumbing license, your standard entry level plumbing license, your HVAC license. If you work over the summers as well, it would get you almost to the 2K for the electrical license. You'd have to do a couple more hours a week. But it would allow a lot of these young students to graduate with certifications and licenses and work experience to go directly into the workforce after high school instead of going to college. Because college right now is not good for most people. Your average school is coming out with over $100,000 in debt. And I have credit cards and been through the ringer and stuff like that. And I know what debt can do. And, I was lucky that I didn't graduate with anywhere near that from college. But I mean, I can't imagine being a 20-year-old, 22-year-old coming out with $100,000 in debt to start your life. And you got to make those payments every month on that while you're trying to like get yourself started. And that's why the average homeowner has now moved, first-time homeowner has moved up to like 38 years old instead of like in your 20s where it should be. And so, I think we need to give students access to other pathways than just the standardized, what has basically become the standard. We're going to prep you for college and high school, and then you're going to go to college, and you're going to take loans, and you're going to come out with debt. And that's what every kid is funneled into right now. And so I just want to create this program to give our children some other opportunities to do other things, other than the military or college basically being their only option right now.
Let me move this on. I think I see a controversial one here that'll be interesting, especially for Texans, right? And this is how I know he's from the North over here, real quick. Is you put right over here, car speeding ticket penalties at 5% of the driver's weekly pay after taxes. And I say this is controversial because in Texas, the speed limit is for what the pussies are going to be driving that day. So, like, what are you in this? Does this seem like to be a uniquely Dallas issue? Why are you? This seems like you're going to be taxing people much more heavily with tickets, with the speeding tickets going at 5%.
No, this is a reduction. What
we're
going to do?
Yeah, because right now they could just pay like do the defensive driving for most of the time. So how do you see this as a reduction?
I'm not getting rid of any of those issues. What I'm doing is essentially like, let's say you have somebody who works at Walmart, right? They're making like what, $12-15 an hour. They're bringing home like $500 a week on their paycheck, something like that, maybe a little bit more. And they got two, they're a single parent. They might have two kids, things like this. And you get a speeding ticket that costs you $350, right? And that's going to take the food off that family's table for the week, most likely. Or they're going to have to not pay a bill in order to pay that speeding ticket, or that parent's going to have to do community service, which is, where are they going to find time as a parent with two kids and a full-time job to go do community service on the side to cover this ticket so they don't have to take the income out. So what I'm proposing is that if you're a low-income person and, you don't qualify for the defensive driving or anything like that. And even if you did, a lot of times that fee is still well into the over $100. So it could still be incapacitating to somebody that only brings home $400 or $500 a week after taxes on their paycheck. It would be a 5% cap on that fee, as well as the total cost of the ticket on 1 week's worth of pay for that individual. So that way it would be reducing based on your income. When you're lower income, you'd have a lower total ticket you'd have to pay, and up to the maximum cap of what the normal ticket price is right now.
All right, that makes sense. All right, well, now I guess let me just play devil's advocate again. I guess here. Let's just say I get a ticket for speeding. I mean, I'm going to be paying a lot more than what you just described. Why would I want this as somebody that makes more than $500 a week? Why would this be something I would want? Sell it to me.
It doesn't affect you. It doesn't change anything for you. It just reduces the burden on people who don't have the financial means. Like if you get a speeding ticket in a school zone, let's say, because you go on 25 and you don't see the sign, right? You're coming through one of these small towns on a highway, and they drop you down for like 100 feet from 55 to 25, and you don't see it, right? And you're on 10 over, and you get nailed with like a $350 to $400 ticket. You don't live in that area. It's way out. How are you going to travel there? Nobody's going to ever make, under my plan, you won't pay more than what you're paying right now. But like all those people that, are lower, that can't quite afford to take that on, because, even up to $1,000 a week bringing home 5% is still only $50. So, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be the mass majority of the population would see a lowering cost of their speeding ticket based on this. And it's really just to, speeding tickets aren't like a thing that we should be taking food and, you know, pushing people that they can't afford rent and things like that because you get a speeding ticket. It's not the intention of the law to punish people to a point where, you know, they got to choose to pay that speeding ticket or to bring food on the table for their family. And so I just, I think it'd be valuable to help people out and, you know, make the penalty, more reasonable based on what everybody's income is, so that everybody has a more because, you know, if you make $1 million and you get slapped with $350 ticket, it don't really matter to you. You know, maybe you're mad that you still got paid,
yeah,
but it's
they
not,
it becomes like a fun coupon or whatever, right? Kind of thing. Yeah.
Like, it's like, you know, that's like just one other event that you're gonna have to pay. It's not gonna harm you. It's not gonna cause harm to your like financial outlook. But if you're only bringing home $2,000-$3,000 a month, which most people I think are maybe at 4,000, 5,000, you know, to, you know, a little bit older, more established people. And you have a kid or a child and you're trying to put food on the table, you got to pay for school. You know, right now we got to all buy school supplies, new uniforms. You know, if your kid plays in a sport or activity, and gas is like going up to $4 a gallon almost. So, you know, people are spending a ton of money. You just can't afford to lose $350, and to them it's a huge burden. It's a you know, I can't think of the word I want to use right now.
Yeah, it's an
undue burden on them, and it's just causing so much damage that isn't necessary for such small motor vehicle violations. And I'm not trying to remove penalties from them. I still think like you did the act, you got to pay something, but it should be more reasonable and more in line with what people can afford.
Yeah, and then they often do the warrant roundups where people go and have speeding tickets and they go and just round people up. And I think that maybe also would help like reduce the idea that they're doing quotas. Now I know they're not supposed to do, but we know. And then let's stick with the theme of the traveling. I see on here another one you have is additional highways from South Dallas to downtown. And I think this is pretty interesting. I lived in Houston many, many years, and they just finished Katy Freeway, and it's like, oh, the biggest one in the world. And then they immediately started building at the other end again, right? And so, like, in San Antonio, they're building another loop. I think Austin is finally getting a loop. Dear God, please let Austin get the loop.
Oh, my God.
But, like,
they need it too.
Yeah, so what is your policy? How do you want to do this? Because one of my former friends, the guy who officiated my wedding, the only person to ever get kicked out unanimously in of Texas Congress, no big deal. But he proposed. He didn't like TxDOT. He doesn't like private people building toll roads. And you know, I'm open minded to it. What is your opinion? I see that you want some stuff built. How do you want it built? Who do you want building it? What do you want? You want toll roads? You don't want toll roads? What do you want?
I don't really like toll roads. I think they're. I just don't think they're. I don't think they help with the traffic problem in general in the major cities. They help a few people get by faster on their way home, but for the mass majority of the population, they don't uncongest traffic. And a lot of what I'm seeing here in Dallas, at least, I don't know how the rest of the state is going, but here in Dallas, most of our toll roads are taking up already existing lanes on our interstates and highways, and they're converting the highways to toll roads, which is ridiculous. But we down here in South Dallas, we've had major population growth over the last 10 years. We have a lot more apartment buildings going up, a lot more residential homes. It's an area that is burgeoning and growing, and we have not had any additional new roads built the entire time. And I live approximately 3 miles from downtown Dallas City Center. It used to take me 12 minutes to get to downtown or the AAC from my house, and now it takes me over a half an hour to go 3 miles because the highway is so congested with traffic. And it's not just during rush hour, it's like all day long, even Saturday mornings, Sundays, sometimes. Like, it is insane. And I live close. Now, people that live farther south than me, like down in DeSoto and Duncanville and Lancaster and places all along South Dallas, it's even worse for them. They got to go so much farther. And there's only 2 highways to commute from downtown going south, and that would be 45, which is called 75 here, and Interstate 35 east. And so the mass majority of the traffic congestion is because Interstate 30 is under construction a lot, and it only has a one lane to get on coming from the south side on 35 to go over to 45-75. And then there's a bypass downtown that connects West Dallas to 75 that we use as well. And you're seeing most people's commutes from South Dallas are over an hour in the morning to work, and they're not going very far. But all the mass majority of people seem to work off of 75. And so everybody has to commute over there, and you just sit in line to get on one of these bypasses to get over there for like 30 minutes in the morning. It's ridiculous. You're just not going anywhere. You're
Yeah,
just sitting there.
I mean, in Houston, when
And
I was there, it was an hour and a half each way. But and the one time, sometimes it's 3 hours. One time, no joke. I mean, you'd see crazy shit in Houston. I saw a guy driving his car's on fire. One time, it was so gridlocked, the taco truck opened up, and I just parked my car, went and got a taco, walked back to the car in the middle of the freeway. Yeah, and I was there like 4 hours. I was like, yeah. That was a common theme in Houston. And then like at nighttime, say I wanted to get to where I worked, it was 15, 20-minute drive, which is crazy that I'm sitting here an hour and a half, 3 hours every day. So yeah, you're speaking to a real problem. Like, so I guess you don't want the toll roads. I guess how do you? What is your some of your opposition's policies like that you're going against? Who are you running against even?
I'm running against this guy named Venton Jones. He is the current minority whip of the Texas legislature right now. So he's
entrenched.
He's entrenched. He's only on his second term too. Like he hasn't even been there long. He's the whip. Yeah. And so he's co-authored a couple of bills. I'll give him that. But I wouldn't say that he's co-authored any important legislation to like earn that position. And I think he's a DEI hire, to be honest with you. So some of the bills, I can't even tell you a bill that he's passed that I think it has like done anything to help the South Dallas community. I've looked at him. He's co-authored like 8 bills that I could find online. And they were all like, just like, they were just bills to put your name on to pass a bill. It seemed like they weren't like really doing the hard work that needs done to like improve lives for the South Dallas community that we live in, and the growing, as it continues to grow in the future. And it's going to continue to grow. It's not going to stop. So, I think what I'm proposing real legislation and real action that's going to affect everybody's daily life and, make it better for the the 80% of, the population that are really affected by everything.
Well, you know what? I actually see another one. Speaking of common sense legislation that helps people in day-to-day life, let's talk about the courts you have over here. Mandatory e-file adoption by all Texas courts, mandatory e-service, e-notice for all cases and parties, including pro se litigants. That seems like a pretty common sense policy. Why don't you elaborate on that? That seems like a very good policy. Where did you come up with this? What are your thoughts? Explain.
So local courts right now, your justice of the peaces and things like that, they across the board in Texas, they don't really take electronic documentation. Some cities have adopted it just because they know and they've seen that like it reduces the cost, time, and the efficiencies of their courts. So they went ahead and did it just because out of basically pure necessity. But a lot of your courts, like we have 7 or 8 JP courts, Justice of the Peace courts here in Dallas, and none of them take electronic communication. So if you get for example, if you get a ticket on the DART because your phone died and you couldn't present your ticket that you had bought on your wallet anymore, and it's a $40 ticket. It's not a big deal. It's a $40 ticket, but you can't go online and email them a copy of your ticket and be like, hey, I had a ticket. Here it is. Whatever, deal. Wipe my ticket out. I can't do anything like that. If you have an eviction, you can't file it on. You can't file a hearing online. You can't, send your lease or you can't send anything. You have to go down to these courts and stand in line, and it often takes a couple of hours. It's like going to the DMV to, just present your evidence that you're innocent of whatever charge you may have gotten. And so you're already giving up a half a day of work. And if we go back to everybody who's making, $3,000-$4,000 a month, rent's $1,500, food's another $500 easy, gas is another $300 to $500. Your time is limited. If you got to take a day off work because you got an egregious ticket that you were not guilty of because, just something happened in life that you couldn't deal with that day, or you have somebody file a fake defamation case against you, or you get slapped with some kind of fake lawsuit or whatever, it's just ridiculous. You can't, these courts have to come out to modern times. They have to deal with it. And you just need to, all the courts in Texas, there's no reason that you're not communicating electronically, that you don't have. And on top of that, you want a written record of your case. And if you have to go there in person and do everything verbally with the judge and like that, there's no written record that you've done anything or what these judges do to be held accountable. And so I just think that we need to put, whether it's the e-file system or they just they all make their own local electronic database that they use, or they take emails, or however they really want to do it. At the end of the day, all these courts need to accept documentation electronically. And, you need to be able to submit it from your house, especially like if you're traveling around Texas. Texas is huge, man. Like we all know, to go from Dallas to Houston's a couple hours. There's so many small towns in between. If you get a speeding ticket on one of those, nobody's got time to drive down to that court to, 2-3 hours away to handle a speeding ticket that they just want to, pay defensive driving for or pay their fine or whatever. But they still got to go show up over there and can't submit the document electronically if the court doesn't want to take it.
Let's do another quick policy one here. Let's do. I see that you have for culture. You have require labels on Netflix and other streaming platforms for TV shows. Where did you come up with this, and what specifically do you want labeled, and why?
So I watch Netflix. I watch it with my kids sometimes. I was watching a show called Running Point this year. I don't know if you know this. It's about a family like owns a basketball team, and the dad dies and the oldest son like takes over, and then he like gets kicked. It's like a drama little show, but it was great. But it was sports, like I like sports, so I watch most of anything that has sports on it. I'm probably gonna check it out and watch it. And the first scene was great.
Were you a heated rivalry guy?
I am a Dallas Cowboys fan, and we're always going to beat the Texans. But
no, I was talking about. Well, there was there was like a gay drama called Heated Rivalry, and I don't know, it was a whole thing.
Oh no, I never seen that one.
Yeah.
Oh, but
I'm just kidding.
So
anyway, sorry.
Basically, in the second season, they started focusing on the brother that was gay a little bit more in the storyline, and halfway through the season, it started popping up with like what I would call sexually explicit softcore content in the middle of the show on Netflix. And I'm like, kids could go on and watch this show. It's about basketball. Like, it's likely that a teenager might click on it and start watching it. And, I think just that they need to label homosexual content like they would nudity or violence or profanity, on the show, on the label, so that I know what I'm getting into. I don't want to like just be watching it and then it pops up in my face and I am like unwittingly, unknowingly, subjected to pornography that I don't want to see, essentially. It's the same thing. And I have the same stance on Facebook and Instagram, and that, right now they'll literally have advertisements come through on your feed that have pornographic content in it. It might be for like ED medication. It might be for some, a totally, reasonable product, but they're showing like literal pornography in the advertisements. And it goes the same with like OnlyFans models that are posting their teaser trailers and things like that on their profiles. And there's no filter.
You just to clarify, you seem to be more about the sexual explicit part. You don't care that they're gay. You care that it's like, homoerotic sex scene out of nowhere, or like OnlyFans chicks, right? It's a teaser. That seems to be your big crux, like of the issue here, right? Is that
I don't want teenagers and kids and myself subjected to unwanted pornography on social media websites and on streaming platforms, and it needs to be labeled. And when these companies get reported to it that this content exists and they don't take it down, they need to have they need to be punished for it. Right now, they're immune to prosecution, all social media companies, under the editorial clause in the federal government. And so, like, there's been a couple cases where people have tried to sue YouTube for different things, and Facebook or Meta, whatever. But right now, like, they literally cannot be held liable for anything they do. They're completely protected from all lawsuits. And so we have to change legislation in order to make these companies be able to be held accountable when they are, like, there was a case on X last year where there was child pornography on there. It was there was a 14-year-old being taken advantage of in unknown, in terrible ways. It was reported by many people to X. And it never got taken down. 3 months later, it was still up. People called the FBI to like report this indecent act that was going on a video on X, and it still never got taken down. It was ridiculous. I support Elon and X. I think they're a great company, but like in cases like this, they need to be held accountable, and there needs to be reaction to like them not protecting people's basic rights to not be exposed to unwanted pornography.
Sure. Why would, let me just for clarification, why would there not be just, instead of like a label, why wouldn't they just have a thing where you can like opt in, or parental controls, or why would you prefer this method over, I don't know, just something like that. Or like you maybe what if you were like coming in as an adult, be like, I don't want to watch any gay shit. And you just put that in there. Or are you worried that it's gonna eliminate too many things that just might have like I don't know, two dudes kissing and it would just be like part of the plot and it's not homoerotic like porn or like I mean and I'm just using this because that was the main one.
Mhm.
It could be or you know, like or sexual explicit and it's just like a normal couple kissing and it not be like whatever, then you're gonna miss a good drama because it labeled it sexually, but it's really not like oh, they're having a whole down and degenerate sex scene. Like, is that kind of where you're going with this, or what are your thoughts here?
So I don't know that we could like force Netflix to make filters to like remove content that is
Sure.
on its like block to people. So I don't think that we could like, and how are they going to remove the content if there's no label for it in the first place? So, you know, and there are children's programs now that talk about, you know, bisexual things and gay,
Yeah.
you know, being and things like that in programming that's meant for young children.
Yeah, I've noticed that, like they're like
and,
trans cow.
Yeah, like it's all over the place. It's in Disney, it's everywhere. And I, as a parent, I just want to know without having to sit here and do 45 minutes of research and watching every single show that I can go on there and be like, oh, this one's labeled like it has, you know, LGBTQ content in it. It's not for me. You know, maybe somebody else enjoys that and it can be on there for them and they can watch it. But I want to have the choice as a parent to like not have my young elementary age school children exposed to that. And I think that many other parents feel the same way and support this kind of legislation.
Yeah, it makes sense. Well, since we're on family stuff, let's you know, we talked a little bit about this in your opening. I see that this seems to be where the bulk of the legislation you want to propose is. I'm just gonna. How about I just turn it over to you? Can you walk me through? You walk through all your proposed family legislation because it seems like that seems where you have the bulk. So, like, yeah, I mean, I think it might be easier if you want to just run down all your points. I might pop in with a question, but you know, just hit me with it.
Yeah, 100%. My main focus is building families and protecting children. That's why I got started in this. That's what I'm here to do. I want to make my children come to a better society than what it is right now.
Oh, excuse me one second. I'm going to get up real quick. I can hear you, but keep going.
Okay. So my main goal is to push 50-50 shared custody as a default standard, like I mentioned earlier. And I think that's going to make a lot of kids' lives better because right now a lot of kids are forced to choose one parent over the other as the primary person. And then they don't even get a choice, to be honest with you. It's just forced on them by the courts and the legislation. So that's the first thing we're going to do. I also agree with 3 strike enforcement bills that have been proposed in the past where, you know, you start with a basic remedy, you know, it's a remedy for parents who refuse to show up and exchange kids with the other parent. So that's an important one. And then we have no definition right now of what best interest of the child.
What do you mean? What is the 3 strike like thing? Maybe elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, so there was a lawyer that's drafted a couple of these bills and introduced them to several states across the country. Some states have started to pass these and some haven't. You've seen 50-50 custody bills where it was first passed in Kentucky and now Florida has followed suit, along with a couple other ones I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But 50-50 shared custody has actually reduced divorce filings by 25 to 50% in all those states and is unclogged a lot of their family court systems so that the family courts can actually spend time on the real cases that need attention where there's abuse and neglect and, you know, child predators taking advantage of people in situations. So the 3 strike enforcement is real simple. It's basically like if you don't show up and exchange your kid with the other parent when it's that parent's parenting time and they make a report and you get a fine for it. Right now, so I've literally called the Dallas's what do you call this? The DA's office. And Dallas will not do anything about a parent not showing up and exchanging their kids unless it happens for 10 consecutive times in a row. Now, if you're a dad,
wait, hold on. Just let me pause you real quick. Just I don't have any kids, so forget my stupidity. Yeah. So when you're saying and I am divorced, but you know, once again, no kids, and I have some divorced friends, and so I know they're gonna listen. If they're not listening now, they're gonna be very interested in this portion of the conversation.
Yeah.
So let me just clarify. So when you say they don't show up for 10 times in exchange, is this like, let's just say, I'm going to take our friend, we'll call her B, okay? And she has some children with 2 different baby daddies. And one baby daddy, all right? And they follow the custody arrangement fine, you know, but like for whatever reason, she has to miss a court, like a date, right? That it's not like a 3 strikes throughout, you know, it's like you said at least 10 times, right?
So right now, okay, so like
I'm going to follow up question after you answer, so go ahead.
Yeah. This is going to take a minute. Let me kind of
go. Yeah, it's fine. Go ahead, please.
Basically, like if you're a dad right now, right, you get Thursdays and you get your first, third, and fifth weekends. In Dallas, the DA's policy is that if you show up to pick up your kid, and most exchanges and contentious relationships are set at police stations local nearby, or you can agree to some other neutral zone instead of the house, or in a lot of cases you pick your kid up from school. But there are weekends, there's holidays, there's summertime where this isn't the case. And right now, if the parent decides that has primary custody decides not to show up and exchange their kid with you for that day for whatever reason they want to, the Dallas Police Department will file a report and the DA's office will do nothing about it to ensure that you start getting to see your children, even though this is already ordered by the court. Now let me finish this.
Okay.
And then what you can do is you can file an enforcement action with the court, but police reports are not considered evidence in family court. They are hearsay and they're not taken. So that report literally means almost nothing. And the Dallas DA's department won't do anything about it unless that parent doesn't show up for 10 consecutive days of custody. So that has to be that Thursday, the weekend, the next Thursday, the next Thursday, the next weekend, the next Thursday. So you could be 2-3 months down the line without ever seeing your child before the Dallas DA's office will step in and enforce the court order.
This is for like the primary not giving it to the other parent, right?
It goes both ways, but yeah.
Okay. So, actually, that's what I'm interested in right here real quick.
Well, what happens generally when the non-custodial parent doesn't return, then the police will put out a report. That's when you see like all those
because they're not the main parent or whatever.
Yeah, but it goes a lot quicker because the main parent has like 5-6 days in a row. So but I mean you'll see kidnapping charges. What if
like one parent doesn't show up? Like let's say like in this scenario, like I said, because she's got a lot going on, and with my second part of this question, like she's missing her chance to pick up the kid. Will she get in trouble for not picking up the kid?
Under the 3-strike law, enforcement law that I've seen, not picking up your child is not the target of this enforcement. The target of the enforcement is for parents that are not giving the kid to the other parent on the exchange times that they're supposed to. And basically there's court orders in place, and these people are not following the court orders, and it's generally habitually that you see primary offenders doing this regularly. I've had 4 or 5 times every single year where my kid's mom doesn't want to show up and give me the kids on that day just because whatever. She doesn't want to drive over there. She just doesn't feel like it, dude. And nothing is done about it. I don't get any of that time granted back. It costs thousands of dollars to file an enforcement to the court to go to the court, and the court generally doesn't do anything about it. So, your option as a parent who already is limited to 1 day a week when the other parent just decides, like, I don't want to show up today because I don't feel like it, is literally, go pound sand. Because what are you going to do? You're going to spend $25,000 to go try and enforce it for when the courts historically have not been doing anything about it. And the police and the DAs won't come over and force them to give you your children. So these people need to get penalized. They'll get a ticket. If they have a reasonable excuse, they can go to court and say, hey, here's why I didn't show up. And the court can decide if that was a fair excuse or not.
So actually, this is really interesting. I think this next question is going to lead into a lot of all your other policy prescriptions. So forgive me for so many questions because this is very interesting, and I know I have several members of my audience that are like dealing with very similar situations you described. So forgive me for interrupting.
This is a problem for hundreds of thousands of dads across Texas. I'm in like some dadvocacy groups on Facebook and things, and my story isn't even bad. My story compared to some of the stories out here is like whatever, dude.
I think what's really interesting here is you're talking about the dads, though, but what I'm thinking of right now is all of the things you described sound very familiar to at least 2 people I know, right? They're women, but it sounds like they're dealing with almost the exact same issues because they got deemed for whatever the bad parent, right? And then they've complained to me many times, and I think this will lead to where you can give us all your policy prescriptions. So I apologize. Is that she's complained to me many times how it feels like the court is working against her, and I go, okay, well I recommend going through the steps, and then the court can't deny it. But then it sounds like what you're saying and what she's kind of reiterating is even if I mind my P's and Q's, they're still gonna fuck me, and when there's no legal recourse, and so what is your message to someone that what is your this seems like is that kind of what you're saying right here?
This is absolutely what's happening right now. The courts are not doing anything about it. There are parents, and it does go for both dads and moms. It's happening on both sides now. It's been more issue for the fathers than it has been for mothers, just because mothers generally get the primary custody most of the time. But there are many more cases coming up where, dads who do get some kind of custody are doing the same thing back to moms, especially where there's issues where like the moms were, going through a struggle for a period of time. So like they had to step away and take care of themselves, and then they fixed themselves, and now they've come back into the life, and they are doing all the steps to try and get back into be a parent with their kids. And the courts make it extremely difficult for a parent to work their way back into seeing their child as well. And, and there's parents who are going through all the steps, doing all the counseling, all these things that they're ordered to do. And, they've gone 3-4 years without seeing their child in person, one-on-one, for a few hours in a day, and the courts won't let them see them. And nothing's being done to enforce it to let that parent see their child. And it goes on both ends. And, so, I mean, there are literally I'm in groups with dads, and there is a suicide a week from a parent who is ending their life because they can't see their kids. It's been 3 years, and they've spent thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, and so much time, and they just can't do it anymore, and they just end it. And it's happening to people across the board, all over the place. It's terrible. It's such an easy thing to fix, and it's just that it's a corrupt system right now. The courts get money every time they put a new person on child support. They get a kickback from the federal government. It's called a Title IV-D subsidy. And Texas is the number 2 receiver of Title II subsidies behind California. Obviously, we know why California is number 1. And it's crazy. It's a fraud. It's a
I'm sorry, you cut out there for a moment. Maybe it was on my end. What did you say? You said Texas was what? And then I missed everything after that.
Oh, Texas is number 2 in receiving Title D subsidies behind California. And so we are one of the largest grocers of these subsidies from the federal government. And it just creates a corrupt system. Basically, the judges are getting kickbacks to order people on child support. I have a judge right now who, here in Dallas, Vonda Bailey, she took over the 255 court, and she promised common sense legislation. And she is mandatorily ordering child support on every single case that comes in front of her, no matter what. Even in the cases where 50-50 custody is granted, and the state statute says that there's no child support when there's a 50-50 custody order in place right now, she is still mandating child support on one parent or the other. And it's crazy. The family court judges can literally do whatever they want. They get no recourse for it, and nobody does anything. And how many parents have time and money to go to appellate courts and fight this stuff? Nobody does. They just end up losing their kids because they get abused by the system. The parent's punishment isn't the result. The parent's punishment is going through the process of family court right now. You are punished by the process. You're punished for tens of thousands of dollars. You're punished with days off work, weeks in time, stress, aggravation, the loss of time with your child. These are all things that the children are supposed to be the benefactor of, and the children are losing constantly and every day in every single case. You can't tell me one case where a child is winning right now in family court. The child is losing tens of thousands of dollars on each side of each parent that should be going to them and their system. If we took all the money that people pay to go to family court and put it in child college education funds, children wouldn't be coming out of college with debt. They'd be paid off and free. And, and they're losing time with the parent that wants to be a part of their life that they're not going to. And there's absolutely no rule of law right now. The rule of law is that the court is supposed to do what is in the best interest of the child, but there is no definition for what best interest of the child means. There's no definition. And so this is another factor. If I can't get 50-50 bill pushed through, I want to at least get a bill to define what best interest of the child means. And for me, some of what that would look like would be, making sure the children are to school on time, parents who enroll children in extracurricular activities and show up and take them to them, things like that. We need a definition for what best interest of the child means so that parents at least have an idea.
When you say that, what do you mean by that? Like you say a definition, like a legal definition, like codified in law? Is that what you're
Yes, okay, absolutely. Deposits, what kind of points are we looking at to determine what is in the best interest of the child? There is no definition of it right now. Every court in every case gets to make it up and do whatever they want to. It's the judge's discretion. I'm sorry for that topic.
I'm sorry to ask you because I know that like my audience is very much into this, and I remember we were talking at DebateCon about this, and this is part of the reason, a big reason why I want to interview, not support the conservative movement, but like, so you're saying right now that the judges are like deciding, and there's no standard. Was that correct? And you want to propose
that's
a
pretty
standard?
much what is going on.
What is that standard you would like to propose?
So I have to like. I have it written down. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
sure, yeah,
one
take
of the
your time.
big
If you have
things
notes or something, or just you give me a general idea.
yes,
That's fine. No big deal. Yeah, take
so
your time.
yeah, generally, I want to say like parents getting their children to school on time. Not showing consistent tardiness and getting to their kids to school on time, because school is obviously important, and it's just basic thing as a parent. I want to say that a parent who puts their children in extracurricular activities, I'm not even trying to define the activity. You can do whatever you want as a parent, whatever you think is good for your child. But I'm like,
through a school, or could it be on its own? Like
say that again.
Would it have to be through like a school, or could it be like, oh, I want to involve in karate or something?
No.
Okay, cool. Just go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like a karate class is defined as an extracurricular activity. And right now, the courts don't consider extracurricular activities at all. They're basically like not important to them. They don't care. And I'm like, so if you have one parent who supports the child and one parent who doesn't, and you only get 1 day a week and your child wants to play in a sport and you support your child in doing that, but the parent who has primary custody doesn't, what team can your child play on that only practices once a week and has a game every other weekend?
Yeah, you tell me. I don't know. A lot. I'm assuming none. Like, yeah.
And so your child's basically screwed because that other parent has to say no, it's my night. I don't want the kid to go to practice. And that's all that there is to it. And the courts don't consider this in their actions to determine what is in the best interest of the child at all. And I don't know how but I've always felt that sports and then in general extracurricular activities, whether it's like a band, guitar lessons, karate classes, all of that is always beneficial to a child, and it always makes them better. And you see statistically that children who are involved in these activities have lower rates of, ended up in jail. They have higher success rates in income later on. They achieve more academically. Like, they just always do better. And I don't know how
that really
that's
is
not
like
considered.
A key thing. That is a really key thing.
I don't know how it's not even considered. And I'm like, if one parent is trying to show up to take a kid to an activity and generally practices are 2 nights a week and a game on the weekends for almost everything, and even if it's more, going 2 nights a week is probably enough for your child to, continue to improve and at least learn and participate in the activities that they want to do. And if one parent is doing that and one parent's not, I don't know. I don't understand how that's not considering the best interest of the child in the court system at all. And so that's a big thing that I would put in the legal definition of what is in the best interest of the child, is that the courts have to consider if one parent is taking a child to extracurricular activity and the other parent's just simply not.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Like, yeah, this is really important. Let me ask you another question here. So, you've been dealing with like this, and it seems like, and I don't want to pry too much into your personal stuff, but based off what you said so far, what seems like a kind of like difficult time with the primary caregiver not giving you these things. What other changes would you like? Let's just say like they made you out to be like an insane person or whatever. Would you try to change the and like you're not, right, but you have some manipulative acts. We know how the women are or the men are. I'm toxic. We're like I'm just saying, we're in Texas. Yeah. This is a thing. When people, men and women, they be like tricking the court. They can be angels in the court and they make you look like crazy. Mm-hmm. And unlike you and me, we're trying to be in the public. Some people, they're not very good at being in the public, and they're put in the spot, and then they like act like they're not normal and like themselves, and then the court's always like, well, this is sus. It's making fun. What like avenues would you propose? Because this seems probably another area where you would like to propose like legislation to change to make it easier for them to prove that they're like a quality parent for the children. And like, what else would you propose here? Well,
this is where you really get to the crux of why a 50-50 custody as a standard is needed. If you start where we're at 50-50, and it's that other parent's job to prove why you don't deserve 50-50 instead of making parents prove why they do deserve 50-50, you eliminate a lot of that concept. And it is literally so this is going to sound crazy, but it's literally a tactic that attorneys use. They call it the silver bullet tactic. And what they do is they just spray wild allegations all across at the initial court hearings or like early on or whatever whenever they can, they just go in and spray allegations, whether they believe they're true or not. It doesn't even matter. They have to present no evidence, and they just bring crap up until the court bites on one or one hits, and they just derail the parent. So if you're not being toxic in family court and you're trying to be amicable and just present the facts as they are, and the other person's attorney is just sitting here spraying allegations about you, then you have to sit there and spend all of your time defending those allegations instead of talking about the actual children and what's going on. And so we can eliminate a lot of that by just having 50-50 as a standard. If you're going to get told that 50-50 is the outcome 80% of the time, people are going to stop fighting about it. And they're just going to be like, well, okay, I'll take that because it's fair and it's equitable and it's reasonable.
Let me ask you another question.
If you have a real case of abuse or something like that, that you can bring to present about the other parent, then you're going to present that. And it's going to go quicker because the judges aren't going to sit here and hear as many false allegations all day because it's not going to go anywhere for them.
Let me ask another question. And this is just like a line of path. And because I'm going to be honest, I'm a toxic dude. I like toxic women. So I've seen all the shit they've dealt with, et cetera, et cetera. So let's just say hypothetically, that you have like an ex, or you're going through the divorce, and they're a psychopath, and they know how to manipulate whatever, and they'll do things like, I don't know, Texas is a 1-state recording law, right? So they record you and then show like evidence that's taken out of context, or they'll like you do like other things where they'll drive you crazy because whatever, or they'll set you up and act like they're nice, they love bomb you, and then they'll boom, get you. And so what is to help prevent, like, because like when in situations like that, would you want to propose something so that like maybe we call it the toxic Latino law or some shit, like, I don't know, like that's a joke, I love my Latinas, like, but I'm just like, what do you like, what is something like an avenue of way, like, would you like want to like be in there like a standard or a way for them to prove the other way, or would you like stuff excluded? What are some ideas you have like about this that in a worst case scenario?
Well, it's really difficult to kind of try and deal with that. So I've been representing myself pro se for 4 years now in the family court. So I've kind of learned a good bit about what's going on. Yeah. But so I've learned some evidentiary proceedings and how they go. And basically it's standard across all courts, no matter what kind of court it is, that evidence given under testimony cannot be used in a defamation case. So anything anything that is presented in litigation cannot be used in a defamation case. So, and this is a widely practiced law across the nation in all courts. So it's really difficult to try and make legislation to get people punished for false allegations.
Could the reverse be true? Could like say you defamed something, like they got defamed, and could you use that in the case in a case like the opposite way, like if they'd already had the defense?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Yes. Go ahead with what you're saying. I apologize.
But testimony given in the court, and anything that's submitted to the court as like a document in litigation for the case, nothing that is presented in any of that can be used in a civil defamation case. You can't sue the person for it at all. So there is not really a whole lot that you can do about false allegations coming up in the process of the litigation of the custody and the divorces and things like that. It's going to be really hard to really try and change that, to be quite frank with you. There's just not a whole lot you can do, because you would have to change the entire court standard across all courts across the entire nation to do that. And but what we can do is, I really think that 50-50 is just going to make it so that instead of defending that allegation in court to have to defend it and then still have to prove why you're a good parent after that, after you've already gotten the bad taste in the judge's mouth against you, if 50-50 is the natural outcome, and all you have to do is say like, hey, this is not true, here's why it's not true, and when you disprove it, then you get 50-50, it's going to be a lot less of a burden on people to handle these false allegations than what it is right now, where it's like, you get the false allegation, and the point of the false allegation isn't really to prove the allegation against you. It's just to put in the taste of the judge's mouth that you're a bad person, because the taste of that makes the judge rule against you, and it puts you on the back end defending yourself all the time instead of talking about what good things you do as a parent. And at the end of the day, the person that makes the false allegations oftentimes are the winners, because they play dirty, and that makes the other person look bad. And then standard custody makes the judge pick one person. So we get rid of the judge picking one parent to be in charge of everything. And instead you have to absolutely prove beyond a doubt why that other parent doesn't deserve 50-50 split time. It's going to make a lot of those false allegations a lot less burdensome on people.
Let me add another little angle to this, right? Because like I said, I know a lot of people here are real interested in my chat, asking a lot of questions here already, and so I'm gonna throw another one at you. And I've said this many times. I worked in a family law firm. It also seems like it's a racket. Right, like that. These lawyers will like take you on retainer, and they'll purposely like do shit that they know the other lawyers have to do, and then you go back and forth. And at some extent, it's like we can just out money them game. But also it's it feels like they're taking a taste. They're just like parasiting. They're like they'll disappear. Like the other person wants to like come back and make things good, and the lawyer will go along with it, knowing that later they're gonna come back, like have to come back to them and start the case up again when it turns poorly. And I feel like there needs to be some sort of legislation, because the lawyers know that like when they try to like come back, it's not going to end well most of the time. I feel like there needs to be, or they go and try to parasite and extend the case as long as possible. There needs to be. Do you agree there needs to be some sort of legislation to rein in this like what seems like some sort of like parasitic system of the court system? Go ahead. I'm sorry, you get where I'm going.
So I mean, it starts with the 50-50 again, because when you have the 50-50 as the outcome, is going to reduce the need for a lot of these other things that are going on, where the attorneys are just drawing out the cases. I hate when you leave and I've talked to nobody. But anyways, so I mean, the 50-50 is going to get rid of a lot of that. It's going to get rid of a lot of the litigation because it's not needed. But there are two other avenues that we can go down to try and help this issue out as well. One would be, you're coming back.
Great. I do apologize for that. I'll just tell you what's happened. There's a hobo that lives near me, and guys, I said always know your local hobos. He died. This is a real thing. They'll help you out. He died. And so his dog showed up in front of our house, and I knew the dog, and it's super sweet, and it like laid down and like and so I have it at the back, and like it's obviously depressed. Its owner died like 4 days ago, and so like I was just like so like I hear it just like crying real loud, and I'm like, no, it's okay, and I come back, but I don't want it in my fucking house. Because it is a hobo dog, I gave it like flea and shit, but like, I'm trying to like find a place for it, but so that's what happened.
It takes a little bit to clean them up for sure.
Yeah. So that's what happened. I hear it just like, it was just crying real loud, and I could hear it through my noise canceling. So I was like, we got to make sure it's not dying out there. So I apologize for getting up. I wouldn't. No, you're okay. But yeah, go ahead. You're on a roll. So go ahead, Papa.
So the 50-50 is going to help out with all of this in so many ways that, it's really hard to comprehend how much just a standard 50-50 legislation would alleviate all of these issues, and it really would. But another avenue we can take is I'm proposing an Attorney Accountability and Client Protection Act, is what I call it. And basically, it would legislate that attorneys have to provide a list of set standard fees for all of the actions that are going to be taken in family court cases. And this way, we're going to go away from hourly billing of these attorneys, unless you as a client want to actually agree to that. But we should go to a more of a set standard on what it costs to do all of these items at the beginning of your case. And that way, like, you already know how much this is going to cost, and the attorney is only going to charge you this amount. And I think that would force the attorneys to move cases faster, to stop delaying and drawing them out for extra hourly wages. And things like that. I also think the electronic filing system would reduce a lot of this, because it would make it easier for people to file and represent themselves. And then the second avenue that we can go down with the court system to really help people, and this is going to be something that is going to take a little bit more time to work on and get right, but it is something that over my time in the legislation I want to work on adopting, is forcing the courts to accept AI generated documentation. And it sounds scary, and it is, but what the proposal looks like is there are templates for how you file most of your motions and most of your documents and open cases in these court systems. And this doesn't just apply to the family court, which is why it's a little bit more complicated to do. It also applies to probate courts. It applies to JP courts. It applies to criminal courts. It applies everywhere. And So we need to have a lot of these standard documentations presented and available to the mass public so that they can go online, they can download one of these templates, they can put it in their favorite AI system and have the AI and tell the AI, what is going on in their case, and the AI can format it to the correct way that the courts want to see it. Because a lot of the problem with people filing their own documents is they don't know how to file it in the way the court wants to see it. And that's the issue with the AI generation right now, is the AI doesn't generate it in the way the court wants to see it. And so then they reject it. And then people get frustrated. And you do get a lot of AI slop right now. I will agree with that as well. But it does consistently get better. And every 3 months, the AI is learning and getting so much better. The documents that my agent is making me now versus what it can make me 6 months ago is tremendously better. And it's coming back and formatting the headers and things the way that the court likes to see it. And it's just going to continue to get better over the next 12 to 24 months. It's going to get tremendously better. And what that would do is that would allow people to represent themselves and forego attorneys for many, many basic procedures. And that's going to eliminate your cost. If you can file your basic things to open your case, to file in evidence, to ask the judge for a hearing, things like that, and get it to the point where, like, okay, you're set up and you're getting closer and you're halfway through your case, and now you want to go hire an attorney to represent you at the trial, it's going to cut back on your cost tremendously. You probably pay like a fourth of what you would have paid otherwise.
Good stuff. Very interesting. Very interesting. So that okay, all right. Let me just take a look see here in my notes here since it was what else? Family court limiting. Okay, how about this family court and probate account? Oh wait, hold on. Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with family court and probate accountability. That seems is that
this is the one that's going to get me killed. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh well, let's deal with the hard one. Then we'll come back to the softballs afterwards.
No, let's take it on. You already brought it up.
Yeah.
So yes, I am not suicidal. I'm going to say that now. And but basically, my accountability act is I want to take away immunity from court-appointed actors, such as judges, ad litem attorneys, all of these people. And right now, a judge has immunity from prosecution. They can't be sued for anything they do as an act of a judge. And that applies to attorneys. It applies to court-appointed actors such as child evaluators, CCS, ad litem attorneys, things like that. And so basically, I want to take away their qualified immunity, because if you have a child and they are not able to come testify in court, the court doesn't want to hear from them, and the court doesn't investigate it properly because they made a backroom deal with, rich, wealthy parent or whatever the situation might be, and they continue to have that child stay with a parent who is abusive and keeps that parent as the primary parent when the other parent has gone to the court and presented the documents and tried to file the case, and they just keep getting hushed out on the side. That child, when they turn 18, they should be able to come sue that judge for damages because they cause actual harm to that child by not doing the thing. And right now, children can't sue judges for damages. They can't sue family courts that have harmed that child by not doing the proper steps and absolutely doing things that are, not in proper, method of being in their position. And I think that they should be open to be sued in civil court for damages by children who are harmed by them.
This is kind of why I was asking some of those leading questions earlier, because this is like really first of all, I don't think either shot. Nobody, a very big part of Texas, we don't like qualified immunity at all. And it's kind of just a holdover from other national. I don't know if you've heard the stories about people doing no-knock once and then hitting the wrong house and getting killed, but that's happened. Yep. We hit it like once every other year here. So and which is not good. We don't want any bad things on our cops. We love our blue people. But the point is, you get where I'm going with the qualified immunity. It's not a big fan thing. So I think you're probably safe. I hope. I'll pray. But I know
it's going to put a lot of them out of jobs. I do want a lot of backdoor deals.
Yeah, but I do want to come back to what you're just talking about, because I know this is my chat is related to this very much so, like with your situation you're describing. And I think that's interesting is not necessarily the parent suing. instead of having the children sue. And I can't really think of a good argument if they could actually prove that they were damaged by this situation. I think that would even what's the word I'm looking for? Assuage some of the concern, like a guilt parent. Say you're a mom and the kids are taken away from me and it was undue, and then they find out the daddy lied about me, or you're a dad and same thing, or whatever, or you find out it's even worse than that, and you're a child when you're old enough. You're like, how many years did you? The idea that they're the ones who could get satisfaction from the judge for doing this to you, like because they didn't dive into this stuff. That's a very interesting take. How did you come up
it's
with
the
that?
child that's harmed at the end of the day, and the child is the one that deserves the damages. It's not about parents suing because they lose in the court. It's about children. Like, and another really good instance of where this is super applicable and why it needs to be pushed more is if the court goes and takes away a child from both parents and puts them as a ward of the state, and it is later proven that that was done for negligent or misleading or deceptive purposes, and that child had to suffer in state ward his whole childhood instead of pending it with his parents. That child is very damaged and deserves retribution and justice. And right now they can't get it. They have nothing to do. They have no avenue for that.
And let me just pause you real quick. We're gonna keep continuing. I just want to shout. This is Jordan Hoffnagel. He is running for Texas House 100 in Dallas. It's important, even if you're not in Dallas, spread this guy's message. We want to get it out there to the people. We want to have more conservative. We want to have more common sense policy. And I think this is something I talk about on my channel a lot, about how he's got. We've had a few times where we're like trying to figure out which exact word. And the thing is, this is like common sense here. These uppity liberals, they've come down and they've used their highfalutin bullshit that sit here to try to trap Americans because we know words, they do this all the time in the legal system, and they make fun of us now, and they're not more intelligent than us. They just think they're more intelligent because they, have more education. With this education that you've described, doesn't really do much, and you want to get us back to the trades. And I agree 100%. Now, I say this as someone fairly educated, and I'm still saying it's bullshit for the most part. So I just want to point out once again, guys, Jordan Hoffnagel Texas House District 100 for the legislature, guys, in Dallas. And we want to get him in office, or if he doesn't get in this time, he's getting in the future, brothers and sisters in Christ. But yeah, so let's go back to these here. Let me look at another family policy you had. Well, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Another place that this would be applicable, which leads into another issue, is what if a child gets transitioned while they're in a custody case? And we had an instance of this in Dallas just a couple years ago here, where you had the mother who had primary custody, and I may be wrong about this.
That was a big case, and the father sued. Yeah, this is a huge case.
And I believe the mom was actually a pediatrician.
It's one of the few times I covered trans stuff on my channel. So yeah, it was a big case.
Yeah, it was huge deal. And the father never won. He couldn't get 50-50 custody. He couldn't stop the transitioning of the child. The courts wouldn't do it because you had a bunch of liberal judges down here doing whatever they want, and they didn't want to stand against the LGBT community and stop a child that had no authority in its life to stop it from getting transitioned. And that is a case where if a child is transitioned and the court allows it and doesn't stop it, and that child later in life was like, no, I didn't want to be transitioned, and has to go through detransitioning now, like, that child deserves to sue that judge that let that happen and get damages, because that is horrendous. And that is a decision that, like, we got to stop. And that is another thing that I would do is I would outright ban transitional surgeries, medications, and any procedures on minors under the 18, except for diagnosed intersex conditions, because that is a real thing. And I don't want to impede on those people from like being normal, living a normal life. But like the transitioning of children is just outright abhorrent. It should not be allowed. I don't see any reason why it should be justified. You can wait till you're 18. You can make the decision on your own, and then you can go do it then. But we don't need to be. There's cases in California where like 6 and 8-year-olds are, receiving transitional services. And I'm like, I don't understand how anybody can think that's.
I mean, we'll come back to the trans-specific thing, but I think there's an interesting thing here to ask you real quick before we go more back to the macro on that issue, because I think it is a big culture macro issue. But on those more specific notes, since you're running a local level, what about maybe something not quite as extreme as say like transitioning a child, but they're doing something like, the one parent doesn't have full custody, but they have partial custody, and then the other parent, this is worst case, I know you want 50-50, wants to put their child in something they deem dangerous, like say, my kid's gonna don't play football, and no matter what, and they got kids like, I don't know, whatever, bone density disease, and they're going to force them in there, and the other parents obviously protested it. Or like maybe one parent wants to, like, I don't know, take them to the Apache reservation and make them do peyote to join their like tribe, and the other parents like, no, fuck no. Like, these are situations I'm saying these.
I believe it.
Like, that
I believe
know.
it.
What would
Yeah.
like? Would you? And I know it's not a direct application. What would you say or offer up as a legal situation in those situations? Like, because you're talking about transition, they seem kind of a similar where one parent has control kind of situation. What would you offer up as a situation there?
The control aspect of the current situation is a big problem because one parent just has total authority to basically do whatever they want, and the other parent can't really do anything about it. And it's hard to prescribe legislation for those lingering 0.1% cases, like a child's part Apache and they want to go experience but I think that would be covered under religious freedoms, to be honest.
What about like something like hunting? Like one parent's like, no, and the kid's like, I don't like guns, but the other kid's like, let's say it's my kid, I'm kind of burly Texan guy, I'm like, my family been here since Revolution, when I was 6, my dad took me out shooting. He's like, all right, you're gonna shoot that deer, you're gonna eat that heart, and then I go throw up, like, and like that's like, and then my mom was fine with it, but say like, I'd be like, no, I don't like guns, I'm a pussy. And my mom was like, no, yeah, don't take him out there. My dad's like, you're going out there. Like, would that be something you would want, like, prosecution for, or like maybe like rule, or what would you like with that, or would you just like, that's not a religious basis thing? Would you?
No, I mean, I just think that the parent during their time should be able to take the kid to the gun range if they want to. They're responsible for what happens to the kid during their time. And so the kid gets hurt because the gun pops up and smacks him in the face, Yeah,
like, learning experience.
A Christmas movie back in the day, you'll shoot your eye out.
yeah.
Kind of thing, then it's on that parent if like it's determined that their actions were neglectful that led to the injury of the child and they lose custody, that but I mean,
you would push legislation. You're thinking that's just more of a, since it's such an extreme case, you're like, well, you can't. We can't legislate the margins. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's fine. I was just curious. Let's go back to the macro. All right, and because you were on a roll there. So, all right, you were saying you want no transition for under children. What are other like prescriptions for like under 18? With in regards to this or any other issues with children? Would you push legislation wise?
So yeah, we would totally ban transitioning on minors at all. I would also classify a parent's decision to transition a child as child abuse with automatic loss of custody rights.
Criminal charges?
Exception. Yeah, abuse charges, absolutely, child abuse charges. And that way, like, if they want to flee to California to go transition their child, because it's legal over there, no, like, when you come back to Texas, and you're going to have to come back to Texas because that's where your child's, home state is, you're going to get charged with child abuse and you're going to lose that child anyways. We're going to put an end to that. And and then I talked about removing immunity. Okay, so another thing I want to do is I want to remove the presentation of sexual and gender ideologies to elementary and middle school children. I just don't think it's necessary. I don't think children think about sex. I think it's weird. It would be weird for a second grader to think about sex. I just don't think it's normal. And I don't think that we should be talking about sexual stuff in elementary school to these children. Is just not appropriate for a public school system to be presenting ideologies and those kind of topics to elementary school children. And where you see this is there's been books that have gone into public school libraries and public libraries, and they're being put into the children's sections. And they talk about, what it's like to be gay or queer or, non-gender and all these different kinds of topics and things. And I just don't think it's appropriate to be discussed with elementary and middle school children. When you get to high school, then I think it's a different conversation. You can present these kind of topics to high schoolers because you are in a position where you start to experience those things. You start to deal with those kind of things in your life. And I think it's more appropriate at that point. But I just don't think it's appropriate to be presented to elementary age school children. And I think we need to, ban all of those topics. Cross-dressing, we shouldn't have teachers putting pride flags up in elementary school classrooms, things like that.
What about like government? Would you also? I'm assuming you'd also ban or attempt to ban like I don't know, in non-school places, but like public places that are run by the government, like libraries, the like I don't know, trans reading hour to children or something. You would probably
No,
also not
I am
okay.
not trying to be they're going to try and phrase me this way, but I'm not trying to be an authoritarian regime against transgender people.
You would be
You
okay
know,
with it, like the trans like cross dressing hour at the library, like with like reading books or something. You'd be fine with that.
I don't think it's fine for them to do it towards children.
Okay.
I don't think reading time towards children is appropriate, but I think like I don't want to ban books that would talk about it
Sure.
out of the library completely. I just don't want them in the children's section.
Oh,
that's all I'm advocating for. I'm very much just trying to draw the line to protect young children from being unfairly targeted by these ideologies that they don't understand, they don't think about, and there's no reason they should be taught.
I guess what I'm asking is if you would apply this like public libraries too, right?
The ban, like not having drag book hour for elementary school,
or like the children's book. But let's say I wrote let's say I was, I don't know, an LGBTQ activist, right? And I wrote Big Blue Heifers Double Wiki or whatever. Okay. And that was the name of the book, and it was like about trans issues or something, right?
Okay.
And then you would be instead of like putting that in the children's section, even though it's a children's book, you would require it to be put in like, I don't know, a special section, like our LGBTQ section or an adult
in
section.
Like the general
in the general library.
General library section. Yeah. It just doesn't go in the children's section. That's all I'm saying is
I was just
keep that content out of the children's section. That's all I'm advocating for. That's all I want to do. And I don't think it's unreasonable. And I don't see, I'm not trying to attack them. I'm not trying to stop them from sharing information with people who need it, because there probably are some people who I don't have an issue with gay people being gay. And I do think like they need to be able to have resources to deal with whatever issues come up with their lifestyle at their point in time.
Yeah, you're not bigoted. You're not bigoted. You just want them to be like done and responsible. Yeah, absolutely.
And I just don't want a 6-year-old being told like, "Oh, you should be gay. It's really fun."
Yeah, no. And I have friends. One of my good friends is trans. They saved my life, and I've saved them life after a car wreck. Like, they're good people, and like they're liberal, but they tell me all the time they're these people work too hard. They've gone so far that now the right hates us, and like I feel for them, because there are people that are further right than you and me that hate them, and I'm like, I get it, but then it's like you're also on the far side. People like you who are just, I want something reasonable, to try to frame you as something that you're not, which is a bigot, because you're clearly not a bigot, right? Like, and so I don't know. Yeah, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Let me move this a little bit here.
And one other one last thing on the children is I'm an advocate for punishing pedophiles. I think they are the scum and worst people on this entire planet. I would institute a mandatory 25-year minimum sentence and death penalty eligibility for any adult over the age of 21 who sexually abuses a child under the age of 14.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's good. Yeah, okay. Listen, I'm with you. We need to put it in the meat grinder. Let's just.
And there's one last point on that. Sure. Is there is actual challenges going on to this right now with Kennedy in Louisiana, and I would advocate that Texas joins the other states in their lawsuit challenge about the maximum sentences on child pedophiles that we can push right now.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I don't think you're going to get many people that are pushed back at that in Texas. Maybe Talrico. Don't vote Talrico.
He's wild.
Yeah, he's wild. But let's continue this. Before we get back to your policy, I want to dive into something else that might lead to a policy here. So you mentioned the advocacy here and like stuff that you were doing, you were going through. Would you want to put like any more state money into some of these programs? Because I know you've talked about maybe how little they've helped, or like the helplines with the when you've called when you were like trying to get information because you've been doing this on your own. What are some like solutions you might like to see or legislated in power in regards to like and you can do for women, men, whatever. Like would you like to see in this kind of thing? Is there anything in that field you'd like to legislate on?
I don't understand exactly.
Okay, so like you mentioned you would join like a bunch of advocacy groups, right, on Facebook. And then like I've had friends who like they're going through divorces and they're going through abuse situations and they're calling like the helpline for like what they should do about their custody or et cetera, et cetera. It seems to me many times that the people doing this are either volunteers or they're like low paid individuals that don't know what they're doing and they have a standard script. Would you like to see any more investment in this through the state? Do you think that shouldn't be funded by the state? Would you like more higher standards? Because I hear some advice they give, and I gotta say, damn, that's retarded. Like a lot of times, and like, but yeah, like I guess that whatever. But what do I know, right? So I feel like that
Yeah.
maybe there should be higher standards. What are your thoughts on this, or do you think it's not an area the government should be involved in?
I really don't have a stance either way on
Sure.
funding legal aid groups and legal help groups. They have funding right now. I'm not going to really I'm not going to target to try and eliminate that funding or anything. I think the better route to take future looking on is to figure out ways that we can use AI and introduce it into the course along with electronic filings to really make the process easier and let everyday people do their own processes, because it just shouldn't be this complicated. Like like, for 80, I say normal, it's a term people don't like, but for 80% of the map of cases, it's just two parents separating because they don't like each other anymore. And it shouldn't be a war to decide who gets the child more time. It should be like, you guys need to go over in this corner and talk about it, because you're going to split the time with the child and you need to figure out how you're going to get along and do what's best for that child. And that's just not the way it's happening right now. And the attorneys don't want it to be that way. They want to make it a fight because they want to drag it out and they want it to get bloody and they want to soak up a bunch of money. And the judges want to do the same thing because they want to get kickbacks for putting a parent on child support and, all these different things. And, I'm sure there's a lot more backroom things going on that people know about. And, but I just think the best way going forward is to try and figure out how we use AI and we introduce it into the court system so everyday people can do the mass majority of the filings and procedures on their own without attorneys and without all this need. And you put 50-50 in so that people aren't fighting and it's not a battle because one there's a winner and a loser. It's like, no, you guys are getting an equal share. Just figure out, how to deal with it. Put in, and I think you need to put two avenues. You put week by week, or you put 2 days a week. So you split the week, 2 days and 2 days, and then every other weekends. And you just go about it that way. And and you're going to reduce a lot of the loads on the courts doing it this way too. You're going to get a lot of people that are just going to stop fighting about it, because most of your fighting right now is because one person wants to win and one person's going to lose. And the person that loses is going back to try and be like, hey, I'm only seeing my kid 1 day a week. This is crazy. My kid needs all these other things and the parent's not doing it. Why can't I show up and do these things for my kid?
Yeah, I mean, so we're getting pretty close to time here, but I think we're right on time because it looks like we're almost gotten through all your policies. But let's get down to some more of the controversial one. I thought this one might be a good last couple to end on here. The law enforcement and legal accountability. Why don't you walk me through your first policy and then we go through the second one afterwards?
Yeah, I don't think this is really controversial at all. Most police officers that I've talked to and seen, they like body cams. The body cams have done
interesting. Why is that?
Job, because they've done a great job disproving the left's narrative that the police are abusive. In most cases where, I'm not saying all cases, clearly. There are wrongdoings. There are people that get shot by the police that, shouldn't have been shot. And body cams have proven that a lot of these allegations against police officers are just not warranted. The person did resist. The person tried to run away. The person fought back and it required the escalation of force. And so body cams are doing good for police officers, and most police officers like having them. The problem that comes for me with body cams is that as a person, it's difficult to request body cam footage for your case. And body cam footage is only required to be kept for 90 days right now. Some places I think might even be, I think they just extended it statewide to 90 days, but it's 60 or 90 days or something like that. I want to make it required to be held for 1 year. So you can go back to it. I think body cam footage in most cases actually helps police officers, and it does good for them in their cases to prove that, they didn't do anything too crazy out of line. And then I want to make it mandatory production in all civil and criminal cases whenever it's requested to the court. You shouldn't have to go file this whole thing to the police department to get it. You should just say to the court, hey, I want it. It's part of my case. And the court should have to, and the prosecutors, the DAs should have to produce it. And then I guess the part that might be controversial is I do want stricter penalties for unauthorized deactivation of body cams. And if a law enforcement officer turns their body cam off and then commits a crime while the body cam is off, I think that they should automatically be removed from the police force or their law enforcement agency and be banned from serving on any type of law enforcement agency across the entire state of Texas.
Period. Yeah, I mean, these seem pretty common sense. And like, to reiterate your current point, I can't remember which city it was now because I'm blanking. I had it at the tip of my tongue. I lost it. But there was that public transit system, and they said they had to stop showing the footage that they had originally pushed for to put up because they thought it was going to show one thing, and now they're saying, oh, it'll make people too racist because of the way it's acting out. I'm like, that's a crazy statement from a city that y'all put this in and now y'all regretting it. So I think there is something to be said for what you're saying, and then turning it off always says, let's move to your second law enforcement legal accountability thing here while we got you here. What is that one about?
Which one?
The Attorney Accountability and Client Protection Act.
We did that one earlier. That's about setting the standard fees for the attorneys so that.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess the last one we haven't talked about then is what, term limits?
Yeah, I mean, I brought it up earlier a little bit.
Let's dive into it a little more, and then we'll wrap up here.
I think 3 terms for all positions across the board, across the state, is a pretty good idea.
All positions.
Power is corrupting in general. I believe that as a moral thing that, even the best people can get in power and be corrupted by it is consuming. And if you have it for 20, 30 years, it's going to eventually just corrupt you no matter how good of a person you are.
Let me just put a double advocate to you. Say we live in a republic, right? Or a constitutional republic or a democracy. And say I really like my house guy. He doesn't want to go any higher. He wants to sit there and do what's good for the state. Why shouldn't I be able to vote for that guy for the next 100 years? Why would you want me not to be represented by who I want to be represented by?
Because there's a lot more bad actors than good actors. And that's what we're talking about.
Okay. Yeah. And so that you want this for all state. Would you try to do I guess you would only have the power to do it nationally. Would you apply it at a local level too, if possible, require it for state? You said all states. So I'm assuming state. What about city? Would you try to make a prescription for cities as well?
I would make it the legislation for term limits on my end. And there's already legislation out there, so it's nothing new. I'm not making a new bill. I'm supporting the bill that's already out there and been presented. And that has a ton of signatures already from people running and people that are already in the legislature for the term limits. There's several groups pushing for this. But yeah, the way that I see it, it would apply to all elected positions in the state of Texas.
All right. Well, let's. I think we're getting pretty close to the end here. Let's just wrap up here. What other positions or anything you like, or anything you want us to know about you, or what do you like to say? What do you like? What are your thoughts here? Or anything else you want to get out here before we wrap up here?
Yeah, I would just say that I am fighting the left's monetary machine out here, and so I am only funding from grassroots. I'm taking no PAC money. I'm not taking money from any big donors. So if anybody wants to go to my website, which is HOFFNAGLE4Texas.org, and, contribute $5-10 so we can put up some extra yard signs around the district, it would be greatly appreciated. I don't want to take any money from political donors and PACs. I don't want to be beholden to any large groups when I get into office to do things that I don't agree with. I, stand on the principles that I stand on, and I want to stand for my principles as a representative of the people and not for political corporations that I'm beholden to.
And I posted the links in both live chats here, guys, so y'all could go and donate or whatever. And anything else you want to say here?
No, I think I went over most of my stuff. So, do you have any questions from the chat that we haven't gotten to?
Yeah, it looks like we've gotten through most of the chat's questions here. I also like I said, I did a little research beforehand, and so I knew what my chat wanted to hear, in advance. I'm pretty tapped in. But to my people here. So that's good. Guys, this is Jordan Hoffnagel out of Dallas, House seat. He's running out of District 100. He's running for House here in state. Make sure you go vote if you can. If you, like I said, guys, we need to beat the lefties. If we can start gaining ground in their strongholds, he made it now. You know, he knows he's fighting an uphill battle, folks. The only way we have a chance is if y'all get in there now. And, you know, I'm sure that he's going to go forward even if he doesn't win and fight the fight, want to go run on for again in the future. Would that be a correct statement?
That is correct. I plan to run in 2028 regardless of what happens.
Fantastic. See, and this is what I'm talking about. It's called gaining ground incrementally. So every dollar helps. Every shared moment helps. I'm going to get him to help get all the info to us later. And guys, make sure you'll go and follow. The links are in the chat, donate everything. And go vote. And what day is voting day, Mr. Hoffnagel? Do you know off the top of your head?
I do. Early voting, I believe, starts October 2nd. No, that's wrong. It's on October 2nd. Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah, I mean, guys, listen, when we say vote, we want you to vote legally. Don't pull a Democrat and go vote under some assumed name over there and pretend or have a fake ID. Don't do that, guys. Do it the right way. We don't want to give them any ability, but we do want to win, so go vote. And if you're not there, go spend money because he might not be your house guy, but he can be your guy in the house. And that's really something I want y'all to know. It's a team effort here, and make sure y'all go support.
Absolutely.
And what was the other date? The other date? The voting date? The official?
Claude's still giving me the dates back. I don't know why it's taking so.
I want to say it's November.
Okay, here we go. Voter registration deadline is October 5th. Early voting is October 19th to October 30th, and the election day is November 3rd. So it's coming up real quick. We're under 90 days to election day.
Yeah, it's crunch time, boys. All right, folks, that's what we're going to call it. Thank you all so much. This has been another episode of my one-on-one series where we talk to local people and real people about real issues. Make sure y'all go follow all these people. I'm sure that I'll have them post the socials in the Discord, and I'll repost it probably somewhere in the one of the descriptions. If not, we've mentioned where you can find it many, many times now, and the links are in the chat. So check it out. Thank you so much. In the interim, guys, what we're going to do now is I have a barber's appointment here in a minute, so we're not going to do shit here on my end. What we're going to do is...
Gibbs, I forgot about one other thing I need to shout out.
Well, tell us one more thing before we get out of here.
Yeah, give me 1 second here to get it. Okay. Yes. So we have a community in South Dallas called Sand Branch, and they are unincorporated part of the city. So they have no access to running water down there. And the Democrats in the South have held this community down to basically slave conditions for the last 100 years. So this Saturday, the Dallas Republican Party will be going out to Sand Branch from 8 to 11 at Wayside Baptist Church to hand out water to the local community. So if anybody wants to give donations to this community or come down and help out, we do every Saturday morning. The church passes water out to the local community because it's literally the only water they have access to.
Guys, and this is actually, I have to pause to talk about this for a second, guys. So this is really a good cause here. Sand Branch, what was the church?
Wayside Baptist Church. It's on 4128 South Beltline Road in Seagoville.
Right, guys, listen, as a Southern Baptist, I'm not saying every religion doesn't have its flaws, but let me tell you something. The Baptists, they're going to get in the trenches. They advocate for these things. So you can know if you go and donate your time, it's probably going to go to where it needs to go. And secondly, the water crisis here in Texas is not solved. It's only been delayed. And the lakes may be full. And I'm from Corpus Christi originally. And guys, I want to say, guys, vote out your city fucking council. They have got to go. I want Dan Patrick gone. We want the city council gone. These people are corrupt. They're in cahoots. There's a reason why y'all are running out of water. And it's because these people are corrupt. It's really that simple. They want old cousin Bobby on the guy building the pipeline. They want to make sure that their Uncle Joey get a taste of the desal plant that's built. That first desal plant was supposed to go to y'all, and then they sold y'all's water rights away. So go vote your city council. Stop voting blue. Vote red. Or at least, if you're going to vote blue, don't vote for the people in charge now because, God damn, they are just sitting here. It's awful. Don't do that. All right. On that note, anything else? I'm about to wrap up here.
No, that's everything. I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks
Thank you
for
your
coming
time
on.
so much.
I appreciate it.
Promoting me.
And guys, it'll be, if any of you want to share this, I will have the VOD up shortly. It should be in the live section, but it will be going in my one-on-one series section. But right now, we're going to raid Brutal Bets, and she's going to be playing, I think, Battlefield 6. So you can get your gaming fix in. But guys, it's going to be sweaty. I think there's going to be some community gambling on whether or not she's going to win. And guys, I'm going to be honest. If I was to say how much money I've lost gambling on her, it'd be not very much because I'm not dumb. But it would be a lot if I had actually gone through with my bets. Because, Lord, and they get so close and get so far. Just like the Dallas Cowboys. Aha! All right, we're raiding out. We got you on that one. So, all right, boys. So give us about 10 seconds. Guys, everybody wave. Bye. Bye.
And we Thank you. Guys, have a great night.
We'll see you tomorrow at 7, guys. See y'all then. All right. Let me just end.